more coming to you from Tone Talks. I have the wonderful Zoe Williams, relationship expert here. We're going to break this thing down. We have this article shared today for some reason about black women and marrying down and how it costs them wealth. Zoe, you want to say that what's up to the audience? Because we're going to get right into it.
What up, people? Glad to be here, man. It's been a while since we did a show together, bro.
Yeah, we ain't done nothing like this in a while, but I saw this young lady for some reason share this article from 2015. She didn't tell people it was from 2015, which is a responsible thing to do. She just shared it like it was from today. The problem is that wealth has transformed since 2015. So you got 1,000 people sharing this like this article is still relevant in terms of wealth today. To give you some context, I want to talk about it because it seemed like people don't know. This article is written when white wealth is about right here. That means that they had about $75 trillion. Now they have, and they're above this now, $125 trillion. So you have a young lady who I don't believe knew, and even if she did know, it's worse. What she's sharing is largely irrelevant and old. Zoe, you want to speak to that before I get right into the article?
Okay, so the first issue I have is, we're going to start off with, I have an issue with this whole video. As a black woman, and a woman who is in support of black women divesting just because of just how black males have been treasonous towards black women for centuries, as well as the high DV rates, and as well as the fact that black men don't build. This article is just telling facts. It's just speaking on numbers, and numbers don't lie typically. Statistics don't lie. And it's saying, are black women marrying down to settle, or are they just getting their relationship worth? So the reality is that black women are probably the high. I think it's still, we're the highest educated group in the country, and that's out of every race, every gender. We are the most educated. So with that being said, I think black males will probably be considered the least educated. I mean, we could just throw that out there without even looking at the numbers and just assume. Of course, I'm sure I can look up something and find out if that's true or not, and I'm sure it is. So basically, if we, being the most educated, got with black males, then we would automatically be marrying down. Because most times when people go to college, they go there to meet their equal, like their husband, their wife, whatever. They go to college to meet their husband, typically, because men are the ones who provide. And so with men being providers, you typically will want your husband to have an education so that he can maximize how much he'll be worth when he goes to go work for someone, unless he's building a business. So just off the fact that black males are treasonous, they date outside of their race more than any other group, they don't get married, and you can't have it both ways. You can't be bragging in the comment section that black males are they're the most single. I guess they're more single and childless than black women, probably than any other group. I don't know. And I'm like, are you childless because you're a deadbeat dad and you're just like not claiming your children? Because at the end of the day, women are having children with someone, and as much as black males love having sex, I really have a hard time believing that they are childless. Like, all these black males are childless. I don't believe that for a minute. So this video is basically, I'm going to just set it up. It's basically tone, and I love Antonio Moore. I love Yvette Carnell. When it comes to ADOS, I feel like Antonio Moore is triggered, and he brought this other guy black man on here named Zoe, who's also being triggered, who has also been triggered from this article, but this article is speaking the truth. And with black males' egos, it's like, if it's not saying that black men are the best thing since sliced bread, like they're the most desired men on earth, then black men are going to basically gaslight and have an issue with that article. But did the article lie? It just didn't. And black women are marrying down or settling if they get with someone else who has less education than them, makes less money than them. And as another woman mentioned in the comments, it is detrimental to black women because at the end of the day, men know that they are supposed to be the providers. So they get insecure and then they get violent because men typically deal with issues with aggression and physicality. Like, they're not talkers. So they're usually going to take it out on the woman by beating her or something along those lines, because it is going to hit them at some point with their insecurity and their egotistical ways, like that they don't make more than their wife. I personally would never get in a situation like that on purpose, because I would be scared for my life. I just wouldn't do it, because I know at the end of the day, at some point, it's going to become a problem. So let me go ahead and play this video, and I'll continue my commentary throughout the video. Another thing I want to say that I think is extremely problematic is that Antonio, or Tone, is having an issue with this article. But the question is he married? He's an attorney. He has a degree. Is he married to a black woman? Is Zoe, the quote-unquote relationship expert, married to a black woman? Does he have a degree? Is he highly educated? Do they both make good salaries? And it's like, typically when black males, like I said, highest group that dates outside of their race, that interracially date, that intermarry. The ones that are successful, it's already like a known thing. It's already like a rumor. I've never looked at the numbers, but if you look at like all the most black people, our wealth is in the entertainment business. So you have black actors, you have black athletes, and they're typically, a lot of times they marry white women. So for Antonio Moore to have such an issue with this, it's like, you're the quintessential example of black men who have, the things that black women need to be looking for in a husband, and you're not married and you're childless. And black males are the only group of men I know that think that having no children is a badge of honor. Most groups of men look to women for sex because they want to have babies, and women look to men for money because they need someone to take care of those babies financially. This is just how it's always been, through all of evolution. It's just always been, men are the providers and the protectors, and women are the nurturers, and we take care of house and home. That's just what it's always been. So this is really, just obvious to me that this is like more of an emotional plea than anything else. So let me go ahead and continue to play this video.
No, you setting it up beautifully, man, because this is something you and I have been talking about for quite some time. So I love the setup. So I'm listening and learning as your audience is as well.
Thanks. 310-388-3499. We're going to take a few calls towards the back end. But basically, to share the article is this concept of black women that are educated. And it mixes concepts, because it talks about marrying down as to all women, but then it flips it to black women. But it never talks about, it's so patently like disrespectful. When I say this, we are all, and when I talk about all, I'm talking about Adolph's people, American descendants of slavery, and Caribbeans included as well, coming from mass transatlantic slavery, particularly here in America, American chattel slavery. The gall and the audacity to put out an article that largely misframes wealth, and then also to share that article. So that Atlantic put it out, and it should have been removed. I asked the editors they should remove it now. But then to share that article 6 years later, when within that 6 years, white America literally gained $50 trillion of wealth. It shows that you don't understand what you're talking about, and they largely should go back to the classroom of understanding how to speak about race and wealth before you speak about race and wealth. So one thing that I'm picking up is that this continues this large message of transactional relationship. I saw a tweet some time ago, and most of the show is going to be about that, but I saw about that article and this tweet about that article. But to give context, I saw this tweet, and I want to make sure I get it. I don't want no man, and this was back on the 27th and not in relation to the article, I don't want no man that don't want to invest in me. My standards have been set. I do not date for fun. Cut the check or pack it up. Again, we come from chattel slavery, and I don't know why somebody would cut a check to you for your time. So can you speak to this transactional concept of relating?
Absolutely. It's no secret we live in a capitalist, materialistic society. But on top of that, we live in a racist society. This article seems to be racist approved. What do I mean? Racism is left out. How did the black man and woman get into this economic situation? They never write the article from that perspective. They always say, well, if you want to integrate, or if you want to conform, or if you want to do better in this society, let's listen to some economists who say, because your race is doing so bad, let's opt out. Let's go to another race. In the article, they talked about the highest earning biracial group would be Asian men and white women.
So he's saying because your race is doing so badly, you should go to another race. But you have to wonder, why is the black race doing so badly? Why are black males not doing better? And, yes, racism is a construct that's in this country, as well as white supremacy. But you can't tell me that black males can't be doing more to build for themselves. And I just feel like they just don't have it in them. They've had a really long time to get their ish together. And you see immigrants coming to this country and just doing so much better. And I mean, a lot of, like, for instance, the Mexicans, they're illegal and they still create their own businesses and make a way to bring wealth to their families. They live together. I don't know if they get married, but they all live in under one roof to cut down on household costs. They're not just making babies and, abandoning their families and everybody just living in one big old house by themselves, trying to pay the rent or the mortgage or whatever. And I tell my children, I'm like, I told them years ago, I was like, we're going to start basically living like we're immigrants because they have the blueprint down. We're not white, so we can't make decisions like we're white people. We have to do things a different way if we want to be doing better than white people have it set up for us to do. So of course, black people can say, well, or ADOS can say well, they give them subsidies, they give them this, they give them that. I don't know what they give them. I don't know if they give them anything. I just know what they're doing is working. They come over here and they don't speak English. And a lot of them are not even legal, but they create their own businesses, because if you create your own business, you definitely have a lot more freedom to do things. You have a lot more freedom to you just have more agency. You have more autonomy. You can do things your way because you're the boss, it's your business. And you also have more freedom to make as much wealth as you want to make, so you can bring in your family members, you can hire who you want to hire. And it's like black males have been in this country longer than anyone, along with black women and white people, and they still aren't trying to learn from anybody. It's like they don't feel like there's anything wrong with them. They just sit there and complain and blame someone else. You can blame people all day, but black women are getting sick of it because we're busting our asses trying to get out of this bad situation without the help of our men, and we're tired of waiting on you guys to get your heads out of your asses, basically, to put it bluntly.
Talk about white women, dating black men who are the most undereducated group of people. So white women and white men black women and white women would lose $25,000 a year if they married each other, if they married black men.
If they married men that weren't college. See, that's the problem, is the article is so poorly written.
Right.
It confuses concepts. It's supposed to be an article about women dating men that are not college educated, but it fails to say what happens when men date women that aren't college educated. So is it just about college educated people, which I largely believe to be the case, particularly within race, versus like what happens with white males because of inheritance and transfer?
Black males being petty. The article is focusing on what it's supposed to focus on. It's not going to focus on, the black males love to compare themselves to black women. You're not a woman, and the article will not be talking about black men, how much money they will lose for marrying a black woman who's not college educated, because black women are not meant to be the providers. This very simple concept, very simple ideology that's been around for centuries and centuries. It's in the Bible that men are protectors and providers. And for some reason, black males, they just won't get that memo. They refuse to change. They refuse to change their way of thinking. They refuse to grow up. They refuse to become men. And they can continue to drag this out and play dumb and act like girls, like they're competing against black women, like they're girls as women as well. They can do whatever they want. But at the end of the day, black women are getting tired of it. We're tired of raising the kids alone. We're tired of shouldering all the responsibilities, the financial responsibilities alone. We're just tired. We're tired. People can cry about child support or whatever they're crying about, but the reality is most women do not even get child support. And the ones that happen to get lucky enough to get some child support is not enough to write home about. It's barely enough to cover the monthly groceries, let alone the rent, mortgage, the shelter over the child's head, the clothes, the school fees, the gas, the water bill, the electricity bill, the internet, the phone bill. There's so many other bills. Like, let's be honest, majority of women who are single mothers are paying like 90% of their child's they're taking care of 90% of their child's financial responsibility, like liabilities, what the child needs. The child support, I've yet to see a woman who's getting enough child support to get rich off of, and it's especially not going to happen from a black male if it's not happening from white males who do have all the economic wealth, as Tone just mentioned. So to sit here and compare yourself and say, well, the article doesn't talk about how much wealth black men could lose. You shouldn't be losing money because you married a woman who's not having an education. It's not a competition when you're married to the woman, because usually women leave the workforce. I've seen white men who don't even want their wives to work once they especially have a child. So that's a moot point. It's like these kind of arguments are very unattractive, and that's what turns black women off from black males. I don't know if they know that, but bottom line is black women are getting tired of the degeneracy. We're getting tired of the ignorance, and we're getting tired of the gaslighting and the scapegoating and pretending that you don't know what is what. And it's like, yes, we live in a capitalist society, and money pays the bills. Like, we need money to survive. So you need to be making money, and making all these excuses is not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. Your excuses are not going to pay my bills. And the reality is black women are tired. So like I tell black women, like I've said in other videos, I am highly supportive of divesting and keeping your options open, because one, black males have been doing that for centuries. They've been doing that for the longest. They've been chasing after Becky every chance they get, kissing her butt, lusting after her, pedestalizing her on YouTube in front of and social media, embarrassing black women, humiliating black women. They just been completely showing their ass. And now that the tables are turning and black women are really starting to really highly consider dating other groups of men, it's like now black males are completely freaking out, and they need to be afraid, because this is happening. I mean, we are very highly educated, and the numbers don't lie. I mean, the DV rates is just very problematic. The fact that black males don't get married, that's a concern. Black women want to get married, and they're saying whatever. But I remember growing up, I mean, not growing up, but like even when I was in my 20s, I would say, I remember seeing so many articles about why black women are single, why don't black women marry, blah, 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 blah. And they were putting all the onus on black women, like women control marriage. Last time I checked, it's up to the man to propose. And you can say, oh, that's antiquated, or it's feminism, we're all equal, right? See, all that stuff, again, is going to be unattractive and make women not be attracted to you. You sound like a woman. The reality is, it's up to men to propose. You are controlling marriage. So if you don't propose to her and you don't want to get married, that's why we're not getting married. It's not like we're not getting married because we don't want to be married. Just like we want the same things other women have. We want marriage. We want the picket fence. We want the children. We want the dog. We want it all. We want the vacations. We want the husband. Okay? And so it's like, this is not news. We're women just like all the other women. And we're sick of being left out of we're sick of being left out of that dream, that American dream. Why do we have to give up having a husband? Because black males can't get themselves together. So that's just another reason to leave. It's like, okay, you want to pedestalize white women over your own women, your own race of women. You don't want to marry us. And when you do get married, you're running outside your race because of your self-hate. And then, so now what? You're mad because we're doing the same thing you've been doing forever? Stay mad. That's all. That's all I just say is stay effing mad, because it's going to keep happening, and it's going to happen more and more, and eventually it's going to become the norm, because these younger generation of girls definitely don't care, and I applaud them. I wish I knew what I know now. I probably would have a white husband a few already, because I'm just tired. I wanted to get married before I had kids, and now I'm left a single mother because black males don't get married. I didn't sign up for this. And then it's like, and then people get mad at you for being a single mom. I want to have children. It's like, it's not my fault that I want some of the dream. I mean, I should get to have all of it, just like every other race of women, and we don't get to. We're lucky if we get to be moms. And it's just not fair, and we're tired of it.
And also, it doesn't even dig into what are we talking about, income or wealth. It just is a poorly written article. And the fact that this woman shared this article from 2015, written by, and I want to qualify things. Let's qualify things so we're all clear. Right now on the show, I've written articles all across the net. I wrote one on Fortune magazine, What We Get Wrong About Closing the Racial Wealth Gap. And I also had a report I did with several economists located on the Duke website detailing race and wealth. One of those economists, William Darity, is quoted in this article that's shared. So when we're talking from a level of expertise. I also have Zoe Williams, a relationship expert who has authored several books on the topics of black love in general, and how we get through this time of a pandemic, of a lack.
I'd like to know, what are Zoe Williams' qualifications for talking about relationships, and what is his experience? Is he married in a successful black marriage? These are just the questions I have.
Of wealth and get through it loving each other. What we can't do is basically make up truths. White America has $75 trillion when this article was written. They have 125 now. All of black America has $7 trillion. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. It's all written out here. Look at this right here. It says it right here. You can add up the columns yourself. So we're going to talk about an article that basically is so dated in terms of wealth that they don't tell you nothing about wealth, and post it without telling everybody I'm posting something from 2015. How disingenuous is that? What you think, Zoe?
I think this picks up on conversations that you and I have had numerous times. And one of the statements that was made in those previous conversations was black people have to value our community, our relationships, and love more than we do money. We value money at such a high rate that this article makes sense for people of our group today. And this is what I mean by that. What this article is based.
So he's saying the article is old, but it's interesting because him saying that the white people actually have more wealth now than they did in 2015, that just makes it even more clear why black women need to go and marry outside of their race. It's like, what have black men been doing in the last 6 years to make their situation better economically? I'll wait. So it's like you're saying we live in a capitalistic society. Everything, the worth of this country, everything is based on money. Money is the power. It's not anybody else's fault that black males cannot get themselves together. Instead of them talking to whomever about whatever, you need to be talking to other black males and saying, hey, we got to get our shit together or we're going to lose our women. No, you're too busy sitting on YouTube uplifting other groups of women like an idiot, because these other groups of women come from other groups of men. So basically, if you're idolizing and pedestalizing and uplifting their women, you're basically saying they're doing a good job and you're not. Again, that's a problem. Stay in your homes, be around, stop being a deadbeat dad, stop being an absentee father, raise your children, raise your daughters, so she can grow up and be feminine and protected and provided for. You don't do that, then you want to blame single mothers for sticking around and trying to do the best we can when you ran off. Take some responsibility and some accountability here.
Basically saying is, sisters, you have an economic reason to opt out on brothers. If you want to live a better life, you can't do it with brothers. And I feel like it's unfair.
Let me jump in here and read some of this article.
He said it's unfair, like he's a child. Life is unfair. The fact that black males have been putting down black women for at least a decade on YouTube and around the whole world to see, and now on TikTok, every social media platform is used to put down black women by black males. That's the conversation we need to be having. If you're going to have this conversation, it is disingenuous not to be having the other conversation of why black males do the things that they do to denigrate the black woman and the black community and the black child. That is what is unfair, is that black women and black children have been selected to be dealing with the worst group of men that there is to deal with in 2021. It's not fair that we're attached to black males and they're the worst performing men in the world.
To be clear, I think it cleared up, but let me read some of this article. Marrying down costs educated women $25K a year, but when you share it, if you zoom in, all of a sudden they add black women marrying down will cost you. So on the thumbnail it says black women will cost you, but on the article it says marrying down costs educated women $25,000 a year. I don't see how as a black woman you don't start off being highly critical if you're going to share it. But then again, you sharing it 6 years later when wealth is transformed. It makes no sense. And she says she's an activist or something else. I don't know. I don't know what she's doing today, but maybe she should delete that tweet, because I don't even know if she knows it's that old or what happened to wealth between now and then. It's widely known that low educational attainment, neighborhood racial segregation, and a biased criminal justice system are detrimental to black Americans' ability to climb the economic ladder. Okay, but then we're going to flip to women and men later. But Richard Reeves, a policy director at the Center on Children and Families at Brookings, has found, actually, and let me pull that up because I have it here. Marriage across racial lines has shot up in the past few decades, and the Pew Research Center study has found that in 2010, about 15% of all new marriages in the U.S. were between couples of different ethnicities, more than double the rate in the 80s. Asian women were most likely to marry outside their own race, followed by Asian men. An Asian man who married a white woman held the highest median income, $71,000, $72,000. Black women, however, were among the least likely to marry outside their own race. That wouldn't mean much, except when we consider that black men have one of the lowest educational attainment rates. I don't know how you take black men's victimization and then reframe it around black women losing out because they married them. And it shows me that there's a significant attempt. And this is the author that wrote the article. You should always check who writes what you share. What it says is Jay Weston Fippen is a reporter based in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He writes about the border, its people and the environment, and the U.S.-Mexico relationship. So a guy that writes about the U.S.-Mexican border wrote this article that says stuff that doesn't really grasp race and wealth, and you shared it like it was some expert stuff to share. In addition, when you look at it, what he's doing is, and I want to screen out, the article implies black men are inferior economically, without saying why, without talking about slavery, without talking about Jim Crow, without talking about mass incarceration. And when I talk about mass incarceration, here is a chart that I created, and it shows there are more black men incarcerated than all women on the planet in America.
I think it's interesting because when black males create their numerous whole channels built on just denigrating black women, they don't explain why we might be less feminine, why we might be more stronger than the average other races of women. They talk about our hair, the way we look, just the way we were born. Like, this is the way you look. So why you? I don't understand. You're the only race of men that talk about your women's physical attributes when you have the same attributes. Just constantly lusting after something that is not your own features. And I never see them saying, oh, because of slavery, that's why black women are probably a little bit more angry. They have every right to be. Or because of racism, that's why black women are stronger, because they've been dealt a bad hand, because we've failed to protect them. Or because of white supremacy, that's why black women might be single mothers, because all the black men have been locked up by police. I've never heard a black male come out of their mouth and give us some kind of leeway, some kind of benefit of the doubt why we're having these flaws. But then when the article is written as truthful about you, because it's just sticking to numbers, it's just showing what the numbers are, which you can't deny, they're real numbers. Even if this guy writes about the Mexican border, whatever he writes about, anyone can look up data. So you're sitting here wanting black women to afford you grace that you don't afford us, that you never afford us. Black women have to be perfect. We have to be accountable for your actions and our actions. We have to try to be feminine when we don't have the same support from our men like other women do. It's exhausting. And it's like, why do you deserve to get a break and for us to be understanding of your plight, but you don't understand ours? If life is hard for you, how do you think it is being a woman living under the same conditions? We're not built for this shit. Like, it's even harder for us because we're not big, strong men. Like, women are emotional. We're not physically stronger than men. Like, we're exhausted. This isn't the move. This is not the way it should be. And black women, like I said before, we are tired. So I don't want to hear about you telling us to remember slavery and Jim Crow and all that when you don't do that for us. I've never seen a black male come out their mouth and say, man, like, well, black women are doing this because of this, and this. Because of slavery and Jim Crow. You know why we're angry. Because you have the same attitude. You know why we have an attitude. But instead you use it against us. And you say, that's why I'm with Becky, because she doesn't have the attitude problem you have. Instead of you saying, let me make life better for our women so we can lift some of that burden off of their shoulders, you throw other women in our faces who have a group of men who do what they're supposed to do so their women can be more feminine and more rested in their femininity. So you keep asking for stuff that you don't give us. That is just that simple, and that's narcissism. It's narcissism. You black males feel like they're the prize. They feel like they're higher than everyone else in their own group of their own race. They think they're higher than women. You're not. And they're always asking for something that they don't give to other people. And the lack of self-awareness is almost surreal. It's like, how do you not see how this correlates with the way black males treat black women? And as long as you keep being a narcissist and not seeing it, you will forever be having conversations like this, because black women are going to leave. We're going to get tired of it, because unlike you, we are aware of what's going on. We're self-aware. We're constantly trying to improve, and leaving is part of that improvement process. We see that black males are never going to get this shit together, and that's part of being narcissistic. You never think you need to be improved upon, so you never do get any better. And so for us to improve is just like working at a job. There's racism or whatever, and they won't promote you. You got to go and find another job that will give you what you want. Black males are not delivering. We have to go to another group of men.
Alone. If you look, working age black men, they were at about 9,000 per 100,000 incarcerated. It's I don't even know if we understand and grasp that is basically a jail state. Black women were at 300 per 100,000. And it's not because they commit more crimes. We just decided they were going to be the bearer of the burden. And the consequence of that showed up in terms of opportunity and advantage. But that doesn't mean that black women in mass were making like $500,000 a year. Still came from slavery and Jim Crow. Still had no inheritance. Still lacked wealth. Because if they did, these numbers would be different. This right here would be vastly different if black women had immense amount of...
And he's talking about the stuff we don't have. When it comes to economics, black males have to take that L. That's just the reality of it. If you're saying black women don't have economic wealth, we don't have inheritance, we don't have money, it's because of black men. You are the protectors and the providers. You are failing at both things. You are not protecting us from white supremacy. You're not providing for your communities. That's why generation after generation, we die penniless. And that's why black women are getting tired of it. And we're saying, okay, we're going to go outside of our race. Because black men, for one, have already been doing that forever. They've been doing it for centuries. Jumping across the fence. Dating Becky. Dating out. Being completely treasonous. I mean, I remember being a young girl and just feeling betrayed, that I didn't understand why black males would want to date the children of our oppressor. Like, why would they want to date these descendants of slave owners? It just baffled me. But yet they've been doing it for decades now. Since I've been alive, I've been watching them do it. And now that black women are finally saying, okay, we want to start to consider our options, because we don't have anybody to marry. We don't have anyone to have children with. We don't have anyone to help us raise our children. Black men are flipping out. And every time you compare yourself to a woman, black males, I'm not going to call you black men because you're not men. If you continue to compare yourself to a woman, you will always fail. Every other group of men get this except you guys, because you're narcissistic. You don't want to face the facts because you know you can't compete. So you created this almost elusive way of black women competing against other races of women. You've talked about our hair, talked about our skin tone, you talked about our features, our noses, our mouths, our weight. You wanted us to compete with them, right? But now that we're telling you, okay, that's fine. Well, you need to compete with white men. Now it's a problem. Where are the videos that are saying you shouldn't be trying to tell black women to look like a European? Because they're not European. They're African. They're of African descent. They look the way they look and deal with it. They're beautiful. They look like me. They gave birth to me, etc., etc. It's like nobody stood up and said that. But yet we have a whole video because one woman shared an article that didn't lie and just shared some numbers and spoke some truth. And that's it.
The black men did. Pretty much, if you look, our wealth is held, our little 6 trillion, 44% of it is in pensions. So old black people have wealth. Black women themselves, not so much so. So you want to continue with your point, because I know that it was cutting out.
Again, money equates to meaning. And it really shouldn't be that way. Relationships are about developing meaning, an understanding of oneself through a mirror reflection, right? That comes from a relationship. Relationships teach you about you. But in a transactional society, relationships teach you about what you can get. Everything is an investment. Everything has a payoff. And we're missing the.
But that's what black males tell black women. They say they give a white women because they treat them like kings. They are submissive. They are slimmer. They don't have to carry as much weight. They are going to give them mixed babies with looser curls, hair texture, a softer hair texture. They tell us that this is the transactional meaning that matters to us. This is what we want when we go shopping for our partners that we're going to procreate with or even marry. And they tell us these things. And so, again, men go for sex, women go for money. Men marry for sex. Like, they like to, everyone knows men are visual. That's what people have been telling me my whole childhood, my whole life. Men are physical, they are visual, they're checking out your body. That's what turns them on. They are just very, very visual. That's all I've ever heard. And males don't dispute it when they talk about my weight or black women's weight or whatever. Oh, you got this, you got that going on. No one even brings up like, oh, you live in a food desert, or because of poverty or because of white supremacy, that's why you might be heavier than a white woman. Because of stress and lack of good food options, that's why you're probably heavier than a white woman. Like, it's just no one, again, like I say, black males don't afford black women this grace, this benefit of the doubt that they want us to give them. And black women, like I said, are tired. So we're going to serve up to you what you've been serving us all these decades and centuries. And it's going to be straight shot, no chaser. There is no coddling. Black women are over it. And the ones that coddle, go for it. I won't be one of them. And there's a lot of women like me that aren't going to be doing it anymore. We have been in the streets marching for you. We've done so much. And again, because this is a narcissistic, abusive relationship, no matter what you do for black males, it's never going to be good enough. Black women, never going to be good enough. So burn your capes, stop marching, go rest in your femininity, and find yourself a non-black man if you want to be happy. Or at least a black man who's not American, because American men, they hold these crazy values that I do not understand. And I do believe that the black male degeneracy is global, but I also think that other ethnicities have different cultures where they do value marriage more. They do know their place as providers and protectors. So if you go with an African man, I know there's other cultures in Africa that they value marriage. They get married. Nigerians get married. I think Ethiopians get married. So it's not about because black women are the least, which Tone actually glazed over this, but we're the least likely to date outside our race. So it's not even about we want to be with a white man. You guys are just so hung up on that because that's what your inferiority complex is giving you. Nobody's saying we want Brad, because if we wanted Brad, we would have been jumping across the fence as much as you guys have been for centuries as well. It's not like Brad hasn't been sneaking in the cabin to see us. So nobody's saying anything about that. We're just saying we want a man who's going to act like a man and do man things, manly things. That's it. That's it. And you can make all the videos you want. We're still going to be divesting out until we see some change. And black males, I suggest you start making videos for your brethren. But until we see some change, we're just not going to change our minds. This may work for some mammies or pick-me's or women who are on the fence. I don't know. It ain't working for me. I am cold. It's calculating. I'm just No. No. And I've even seen black males who've come out and said, oh, well, Becky has a 750 score, 800 score, so that's why we're over here. Your credit score sucks. You know, they put us down in every shape and form. So to me, it's like the audacity of Antonio to create this video like black males have been treating black women like queens all this time is disingenuous, is full of crap. And it actually angers me that he's wasting his time doing a video like this when ADOS is fighting for reparations. Like, I don't know what that has to do with this. Because black males, again, they're always with the Becky, but they're fighting black sleeping white. Black males have said time and time again they don't see what the big deal is as far as them doing activism for black liberation and black and Pan-Africanism or whatever while they're married to a whole white woman with biracial kids. So again, this is how you get back at a narcissist. However they say something, whatever they say to you, you can turn it right back around on them. They're not going to have anything else. They're not going to have a response. They're not. That's what shuts them up. If they say, well, black men, because they basically do the same thing to black women. Well, they don't write an article about black women, black men losing money if they get married to a black woman. But it's like it doesn't work when you do it because you're a whole man. You are supposed to be the head of the household. You're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to lead. You don't want to step up and do your job. And that's why you're sitting here whining about this article that's 6 years old, because you don't want to step up. You want to get women, black women, to step down and stop, being a quote-unquote uppity negress. And you want us to get back in our places and fall back and not think that we deserve better. But we do. And this article says as much. It says so. And that's what you're really mad about, is that a white man wrote this article telling black women you can do better. That's really what triggered you. This is really what the underlying issue is the inferiority that black males have when it comes to white men.
Whole purpose of relationships, because now relationships are more about survival. I need to be with somebody that can help me survive.
Relationships have always been about survival, from caveman days to in the beginning of time. Relationships have always been about survival. Hunting, gathering for food, like what do you call that? It's about survival. I guess black males have been living in this fantasy world for so long, they forget what's real and what's fake. Yeah, we're all on this earth. What does it say? Only the strongest survive? Survival of the fittest? Get up from under your goddamn rocks. He started this relationship it's always been about survival. That's why you procreate. That's why you have money to feed your kids. Like, it's all of this. That's what you wake up in the morning to go to work to make money. Like, it's always been about survival. That's what we're here for. That's what people do. They just live, they work, they die, and they've had kids, so the kids continue on. That's just what it is. That's really the basics of human life. I mean, you have some fun, hopefully, in between it, but everyone's going to die. So a lot of people have children to continue their lineage because they know they're going to die at some point. But while you're on this earth, you got to survive. You have to eat. You have to have shelter. You have to have clothes on your back so you don't freeze to death. Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. And this guy, the relationship expert, where? Like, what are his credentials? Because I looked in the description box. I don't see anything. I don't see anything about this Zoe Williams credentials. And frankly, the way he's talking, like, I don't even care to look. I have a master's degree, so I don't know. I don't feel like looking to see what he's been doing himself. And to me, if you're going to say you're a relationship expert, name some qualifications, name some credentials, because you're talking crazy. For you to be a relationship expert, you're talking in a world of fantasy. Oh, it's supposed to be about love and, just companionship. No. Love don't pay the bills. Shoot, in other groups of cultures, they have arranged marriages. I'll fall in love with you over time. Shoot, you do what you're supposed to do, and we'll kick it, and eventually we'll fall in love. Love is secondary, because that's what a life is. It is surviving. You are surviving. If you're lucky, if you're blessed enough, you'll thrive. But that's what we're here doing, is surviving. That's the basic, purpose here. Survival.
Piece was a hit on black men. It was a hit job on black men, basically pandering to black women, saying you're in a better position and you would do even better.
That's a chart up.
And it really shouldn't be that way. Relationships are about developing meaning, an understanding of oneself through a mirror reflection, right? That comes from a relationship. Relationships teach you about you. But in a transactional society, relationships teach you about what you can get. Everything is an investment. Everything has a payoff. And we're missing the whole purpose of relationships, because now relationships are more about survival. I need to be with somebody that can help me survive. This piece was a hit on black men. It was a hit job on black men, basically pandering to black women in your own. Now,
this is the conundrum with that. I got the chart up. Do you got $1 million? Because, like, if you are going to be transactional, like you said before, Zoe, can we admit that and it be that? Now you got to enter into transactions. Because when George Washington married, when George Washington married his wife, she came in with a bunch of slaves that pushed him into the presidency. Now, I'm not saying I want you to have slaves, nor am I saying I want you to make me president. But you walking in here shoeless and sockless, just like me, and making judgments. You can't make judgments when you yourself don't have no gavel. Go ahead.
You can't make judgments and you don't have no gavel. And it's unfortunate that this is the way of the world. But when you look at the reference points in this particular article, he's referencing economists, not relationship scientists. There's a relationship scientist right up the street at UCLA, Benjamin Carney. That's an actual relationship scientist who deals with intimacy, who deals with communication, who deals with violence in relationships. This guy is referencing economists.
But let me say this. He don't even reference economists for the position, because they already never agreed with him on that. He referenced sociologists.
Right.
They don't even understand the economics. Let me read to you who he referenced for the actual position on this. Associate sociologist. I don't want to hear from a sociologist about economics no more. Unless you're ready to write a paper and do the real work, just talk about feminism and hair or whatever else you talk about. Because when you come over in this space, you get it wrong. Let me read it to you what she said. There's almost a triple dimension of issues black women have to deal with. So we're going to leave out mass incarceration and all of that prison that we're talking about. We're going to leave that out. We're going to leave out social dominance theory, which says that the outgroup male, which is black males, are treated far less, I guess, accepting than the outgroup females by the dominant male, which is the white male. We're not going to talk about social dominance theory. Okay, we're going to leave all that out. There's almost a triple dimension of issues black women have to deal with, said Chris Marsh, an associate professor of sociology. Associate professor of sociology and demography. Why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about this without understanding wealth? At the University of Maryland, one, they have a low, and I quote, this outright marriage. We know that. And two, if they do marry a black man, they're more likely to marry someone less educated than themselves. And the other thing that's interesting is that black women are much more likely to not marry at all. The onus doesn't fall on black women, though, Marsh says. But she don't bring up her parents. Hold on. We're going to bring up who they marry, but not who their parents are. In the middle of wealth inequality, I'm just gonna bring it up like it is. I mean, since we doing transactions, right, Zoe?
Right.
Since we doing transactions, we're not gonna ask about your mama, your daddy, and your grandparents. We're gonna talk about you marrying another black man. No, y'all both coming from slavery and Jim Crow and white oppression and lack of reparations, so both y'all don't have nothing. The difference though, is we not writing articles saying I don't have nothing because of you. Go ahead, Zoe.
And again, sociologists, their job is to make sure you fit into society. So marriage is a driver of finance. It's a driver of the economy. We have a household, we have bills, we have children. So again, they're not talking about the true purpose of relationship, which is to unfold meaning from within. Now, that doesn't make any money. This is why this kind of thinking has produced ideas like love isn't enough. Love doesn't pay the bills. You got to have a job.
Hey, so you know what pays the bills? You know what pay the bills?
But that's what I'm saying.
Read what's on screen, Zoe. That's what pay the bills.
Exactly.
Boomers will pass along trillions, mostly to their Gen Xers. I don't think we understand what $150 trillion means to a society. Nor do we understand you can't use black men in dating as an escape hatch for doing no politics and a lack of reparations. That's what this article is. And I fundamentally think it's a problem because this article is written in a contorted way where it's making assessments about women generally, then it moves over to black men and throws them under the bus without giving any data or anything else. Let me take a caller, so I didn't go take that many. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, Tom?
Hey.
How you doing? What's up, Zoe?
Yeah, we here. Go ahead. What you got to say on this?
One thing I want to add and include here is the fact that when we're speaking about transactions, that's exactly what marriage is to this country. It's a transaction. It's not about matrimony. It's not about actually being with the other person. It's actually coming to partnership, so you're doing business with the person. So I think our understanding of what marriage really is in this country, which is marred in rage, which kind of lets us know that we've been removed from our ancient spirituality and understanding astrology, because if we understand what it means for Mars, the planet of war, to be enraged, it wouldn't be something you would want to relate to your relationship with another person in terms of what we think about as marriage. I think our whole awareness of what these words mean in terms of relationships and status is totally obsolete in terms of what we're considering. Because when we're considering dating somebody and loving somebody, we wouldn't think about it being a partnership where we would be considering our transactions with that person versus considering our love for that person. Because when you love somebody, it doesn't matter how much money they make. They may be making $200,000 this year, and then next year if they break their leg and they can't work, then you're the only person that's making money. Then you still love them, right? You wouldn't end the relationship because they broke their leg and now they don't have $200,000. So I think the whole concept of relationship is being considered in a de facto manner, just like this government is de facto, and all of this whole sham that we're sitting here through is de facto. We're not actually a part of a government. It's a corporation that's running and operating in terms of our marriages and our relationships to other people, and it's being thrown off.
All right, man. Thank you so much for calling. That's a powerful call. Zoe, you want to give me your take on that?
Well, again, marriage is a business. And for blacks, and as you state, ADOS, we can't afford marriage. Let's be honest. We can't afford what marriage actually represents, the way it is currently constructed in the Now,
Zoe, let me say one thing that is interesting about what kind of business it is. It's a family business. Mm-hmm. And I think for a lot of people, including this article, a white or black woman who marries someone less educated will suffer a household income of $25,000 less a year. That's the hook of the article. But the article is about black men and black women, which makes no sense. But then it talks about income and not wealth. That's the hustle. And then it doesn't tell you what the raw income of those two groups is when you talk about losing $25,000. Are whites coming from 75 to 50? Are blacks coming from 55 or 60 to 25? What are the numbers? This article lacks those things, period. It's old, it lacks numbers, and it's incoherent. And what I'll say to you is the fact that this young woman shared this, and 1,000 of you guys shared it as well, without knowing who authored it, that is from 2015, and that wealth has transformed since 2015, is a failure of your own standards. I'm gonna take one last caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is I'm Mrs. Ford calling from the Bay Area.
All right, what's your take on this, Ford? Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah. So first of all, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
You as well.
I've been married for over 23 years, and it's really frustrating to continue to see hit pieces like this. This is an attack on ADOS people, period. There is, when you get into mentality of thinking that the black man and the black woman is separate, you're confused in and of itself, period.
No, I agree. And Zoe, what do you think about what you just said?
She's 100% correct. It is a hit piece on our people. And like I said, to me, this is more of a promotion. They're promoting and marketing these ideas to sisters. It's not surprising to me that a sister retweeted it and posted it. It's not surprising because these are the talking points of fitting into a society. And really what it means is abdicating your responsibility to your brother and your sister if you're doing well. Marrying down. How can you marry down and we the same people? Right?
Coming
But
from no wealth.
coming from no what we're the same people. Marrying up, marrying down. Typically marrying up means marrying out of your economic group, right? That's us. We're all from the same plight, from the same situation. So this seems like a brochure to say, see sisters, there's greener pastures elsewhere.
Can I say one more thing, Zoe?
Mm-hmm.
$25,000 ain't no money no more. So if you think that's what's holding you back, if you think that's what's making this situation where economic inequality among families with children, 1 cent for blacks, $1 for whites. I need you to understand that we're living in a world that this article can't tell you about. So don't bring no article written by this man that writes about immigration in 2015 when white folks only had $75 trillion and they got 125 now and going up, and talk to me like you know what you're talking about, because that means that you basically are not a person I can respect in conversation because you don't do the work. You don't do the work for us to communicate. You brought an article to spit on me and then didn't have no spit in your mouth. Come on. And so I come back to and I read this whole thing. I got tweets that I shared. So I'm gonna read the tweet and I'm gonna let you speak. Ain't no more callers to take. Thank you guys for calling in. Literally, this shows, meaning this article, no understanding of wealth. The cost is in lineage, not mates, meaning your family. So you didn't come with no family and he didn't come with no family. It ain't you going to college. It's that family that paid for college, that left homes, that black folks largely don't have because of inheritance. The cost is in lineage, not mates. This article is both ignorant and racist. Let me be clear. Because of historical oppression and policy advantages, whites in the top 30%, regardless of gender, receive massive transfers. And I shared the article earlier that basically frames what's happening right now. So what you think about that?
There are no demands in nature, right? The trees don't demand that we breathe out carbon dioxide, right? And we don't demand that the trees release oxygen so we could breathe in. So reciprocity is natural. But in a transactional society, this is where our demands come from. Now the demand is, wrapped around this idea, this concept that we call expectations. And now our relationships have become this bastion of outcome hunters. We are hunting outcomes. I need somebody to fulfill a desire, an outcome, and I need guarantees that you can deliver. So now I'm going to put you through this whole maze of
Deliver what though, Zoe?
expectations and beliefs and concepts, and
Deliver,
I want you to conform, right?
deliver a $600,000 house.
Exactly. You better have this. You better come with this. You better provide this. There is no forced transactionalism in nature. There are no demands. There are no expectations in nature. It happens naturally. And so should reciprocity in relationships. But now our relationships are based on societal demands in order to be considered a happy, loving, normal couple. It's absolutely insane, especially for ADOS people who have no idea about the severity of the wealth gap and how it was constructed, Jim Crow, redlining, slavery, and all of the other things.
Let's look at that from slavery, and let's just talk about freedom from slavery all the way to 89. White folks only got to $25 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
From 89 to now, they are at 125. They got $100 trillion since that period. Understand what I'm saying? You can see it for yourself. This is the board of governors of the Federal Reserve. I've talked to them about this, the governors, and they explain some more things about this. But between 2020 Q4 and 2021 Q2, white America added $10 trillion in wealth and now has $125 trillion. In half of a year, they added just $6 trillion in just stocks. That's nearly the same amount of wealth as all black wealth combined. And again, 44% of black wealth is pensions. I want to know, where are these black women that have $1 million, since we have these articles that we're dragging down. I also want to know what you're going to buy with $25,000, since that's what the difference is, and understand, I guess they're talking about income. So 40% of that go to government. That ain't all coming to the house. It don't make no sense. Go ahead, Zoe. I'm sorry.
It's quite all right. But all I'm saying is we have to recontextualize or become authors of our own relationships, right? We shouldn't follow the blueprint or the benchmark that's established by a society that is hell-bent on keeping its foot on our collective economic necks. So at some point, we're going to have to derive meaning that has nothing to do with our wallet, that has nothing to do with our income. That's what the spiritual purpose of relationship is about. That's what relating is about. Unfortunately, most marriages and most relationships or cohabitationships, most of those fail when there is no money, when there is no provision. And it takes a very important position in our decision making when it comes to who we're going to be with. Opting out and dating out is the same as starting a business and then selling it to someone else outside of your outside of your culture. To me, at the end of the day, you keep that business in your culture, in your community, and you keep those dollars recycling in your community, so everybody in the community can feed off of that particular business.
Come on. And I'm gonna end here, Zoe, and just say, this is the tweet that I left under that young woman's post, and I stand by it. This is ignorance. They would never allow this to be written or framed this way about black women, meaning black men. If you're college educated and you marry a black woman that doesn't have an education, you're going to lose money. Marrying down, I mean, how do you frame it that way when we all come from the oppression of American slavery the way we do? We are ADOS, suffering the cost of American slavery in the middle of immense wealth inequality. We should write the editor and demand that this is taken down, even though it's old. And again, she had an obligation to tell y'all this is old. She really shouldn't even post it because it's so old that it's largely irrelevant. I just wanted to come to you, have a show. I appreciate Zoe making himself available and talk about this article and really make clear to you all of the flaws in it. Primarily its age and also what has happened with wealth even since it was published. And I just think that you shouldn't share it. And you should make clear to the editors of the Atlantic, you would like for it to be removed. Thank you so much. Thanks, Zoe, for coming out. We out.
Hey you guys, so as the one woman said, you know, marriages are transactional. That first caller was spot on when she discussed that marriages are transactional. Since the beginning of time, when you married a woman, she came with a dowry, you know, usually, or even like back in ancient times when there was kingdoms, they would intermarry their kids to bring, you know, nations together. So marriage has always had like an additional motive aside from just like, oh, we just love each other and that's it, because that's not going to be enough to sustain the relationship. And then it's interesting because the relationship expert actually, they kind of both contradicted themselves constantly. And one of the times was when the relationship expert was saying that people who just marry for love, their relationships tend to dissolve when the money is gone. So if we know that's the case, then shouldn't we be knowingly trying to marry into wealth or into some type of, you know, money? And I just think that black males are having an issue with this article because it's telling black males that you need to grow up, you need to build, you need to make money and compete with all the other men and of the other races. And yes, we know that there's racism, etc., but you have to start somewhere. You have white people who started out of the Caucasus Mountains eating each other, living in caves, and look where they are now. So it's like, how long are you going to be subjugated and not willing to fight to get back to the top? You know, and making excuses all day is the first way and the fastest way to stay at the bottom. So thanks for listening to this video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.